Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to be sharing with you a special occasion dinner menu idea.
This is a meal plan that is perfect for Valentines, Galentines, or just showing your friends and family that you care. This is starters, mains, and desserts. We've got 3 recipes to show you today that all come together to make the perfect dinner party. For instance, we made this for all of my mates on my birthday.
What's great about these 3 recipes is lots of the elements you can prep in advance, so it's really going to help you when it comes to the day or the party, whatever it is that you're
all
hosting.
that time management tips.
Yes, so we'll be sharing all those little tips of how you can prep and how you can get on top of things later on in the video. But for now, we're going to get started with our starter, and it's a super simple one, which is great because you're not going to be spending too much time in the kitchen. So let's just get straight into it. When we do special occasion dinners, whether that's just for Charlie and I or for friends and family, we always like to think about the cuisine that we're doing. So that will be kind of our theme for the evening. And we absolutely love Italian food, especially since going to Italy for our honeymoon. We've been super inspired since coming back from it. So today's theme, if you like, the cuisine that all these recipes kind of sit in, is Italian. The first recipe, our starter, is very much inspired by some of the starters that we had over in Italy. And what we're going to be doing is a bruschetta. I would say the bruschetta that you think about here, at least in the UK, is often a tomato bruschetta. But when we were in Italy, especially in Ischia, we really enjoyed all of the kind of other types of things that you would have instead of tomato. And one of the things we had a lot was beans, cannellini beans, white beans. So we're going to be recreating a very lovely, fresh, herby, lemony white bean bruschetta. So for the beans, we've gone for these Bold Bean Co. white beans. They are so much tastier than the beans you get in like a regular can, and because this is the main ingredient, we thought let's treat ourselves and buy some really delicious, flavorful beans. Not sponsored, by the way, we just love them. And then we've got parsley, lemon zest, lemon juice, olive oil, salt, and then we're going to be spooning that all over some lovely bread. You can basically do whatever bread you like. In Italy, we had all different types. We had thick, squishy, kind of like sourdoughy type bread. We had like little kind of baguette or ciabatta type bread. So whichever bread you fancy, we have gone for this bake at home baguette. So it kind of has that slightly homemadey feel in that like it'll be freshly warm out the oven at kind of like partly baked. We've got our little slices here and we're gonna now lightly toast them. We still want to keep this really nice kind of like soft, squishy texture, but we just want the top layer to be ever so slightly toasted so we can rub that garlic onto it. I'm gonna use a fork now just to mash a few of the beans. We don't want to break them all down, but just a few of them. It's kind of a smash rather than a mash. Because we're using good quality beans, they're already quite soft and creamy, so they're very easy to mash. If you're using ones out of a can, you can still mash them, but we find if you heat them up on the hob first, they are easy to mash. These are pre-cooked beans, so you don't need to worry about pre-cooking them. We're going to save most of them for later when we actually sit down and eat everything together, but I'm just going to try one of the little ones now.
Is it like you remember from Italy?
I'd say we've gone more lemony, just because that's what we like. We really love that like lemony, herby flavour, but yeah, it's absolutely delicious. The garlic on the bread is just the right amount. It's herby, it's creamy, it's light, it's fresh, and it's so easy to make up, which is like ideal when you want to do a dinner party, so it still feels special and that you've put effort in, but you're not spending hours and hours in the kitchen preparing it.
So with our starters out of the way, the next thing we're going to get on with is the mains. And for that, we are making a really lovely, rich and creamy squash ravioli. Now, you don't have to make your pasta from scratch. We are going to today, but we will give you a little tip later in the video on what you can do if you don't want to make your own pasta. If you don't have a pasta machine, or if you just can't be bothered, we'll show you that later. For now, we need some 00 really fine pasta pizza flour, and we need some coarse semolina flour.
Now we've completely combined our dough together, so we've got a nice little ball of dough here, and we're going to knead it for about 10 minutes now on a floured surface until it's nice and elastic and springy. Our pasta dough is now nice and smooth, and when you press into it, it's nice and springy, the dough kind of retracts back. So this is now ready to go in the fridge for about half an hour to rest. For our filling, we're going to be using a lovely butternut squash and cashew filling, and it's going to be so smooth and silky and creamy and delicate and just all the best things and all the things you want for a date night or a special occasion. So the first thing that we need to do is peel and chop our butternut squash, and then we're going to roast it in the oven.
The squash is in the oven and the cashews are on the hob, just softening up. The pasta dough has now rested for over half an hour, so it's time to start rolling it out to make our ravioli. As we said earlier in the video, you could make this recipe without having to make your own pasta. The secret behind that is buying a pasta shell conchiglione. Ravioli pasta, as you probably already know, is a stuffed pasta. So what we're trying to do is stuff a different type of pasta. Now the conchiglione kind of folds in on itself, and that's really good because what you can do is make the same rich, creamy butternut squash and cashew filling and put it inside the conchiglione once you've pre-cooked them. And that'll work almost exactly the same as if you made the pasta yourself, still putting lovely sage butter and walnuts over the top. The key with this is you're going to want to take your dough and split it into two parts. It's too much to go all through at once. By the time you get it thin enough that you want it, it's going to be a massive sheet of pasta. And as fun as that sounds, it's very difficult to handle. So what we're going to do is start with a piece like this and keep on putting it through the rollers as it gets smaller and flattening it out until we get a really nice long piece of pasta dough. And of course, a bit of flour always helps with things sticking. This first one is always the most difficult because you're getting it down to size. So that's after the first pass. I'm going to fold that back in on itself and go through again. There we go, a little bit more uniform. I'm going to go through once more at this thickness. Excuse the squeaky pasta machine. So this is where we are after the first pass. Don't worry about these fold marks, they will go completely when we're down to the size we want. The next thing that I'm going to do is change the width of the rollers and start going smaller and smaller with the pasta dough. So I've gone from 1 straight to 3. As you can see, the half of the pasta dough we have now rolled out all the way on setting 7, and that has given us a really nice sort of semi-translucent, really thin but durable pasta dough, which would be great for making ravioli.
These are looking very cute, and as you can see, they're pretty easy to construct, but now we have to do this about 20 more times.
The ravioli is ready for cooking now. You can make this up a bit in advance. I wouldn't do it too long. I did once make this, and I made it the morning of the dinner party, left them on a sheet with some semolina flour and stuff like that. When I got back to it, the filling inside, because of the moisture coming out of that, had made all the pasta dough really moist and really difficult to pull back off of the semolina flour, which was also on some baking parchment. So maybe an hour or two before is fine, but don't make them the morning off. That being said, you can make the filling in advance and you can make the dough in advance. It's just when it comes to constructing, it's best to make them like an hour before you want to eat. When they start floating like this, that's when you know they're ready.
So this is our homemade squash-filled ravioli. This honestly is super special, which is exactly what you want for a special occasion. We had this on Christmas Day, Charlie's birthday, New Year's Eve, and every time it tastes almost like I'm having it for the first time. It's like that tasty. for dessert, we're going to be making some little individual pistachio tarts. So we are going to be using some shop bought puff pastry, which is already vegan, so that's amazing. And then for the filling, we're going to be doing a kind of date caramel, but we're going to be mixing in some pistachios as well. So think like a pistachio cream with the dates, so that like kind of toffee flavor with a bit of salt is going to be absolutely delicious. And then we're going to sprinkle on some little dried flower petals on the top, just to make it feel a bit special and fancy and Valentine's-y. So to start the filling, we need to soften our pistachios and our dates to make them easier to blend. We're going to be using these little tart tins with the pop-up bases for our desserts, and if you don't have these, then you could use a muffin tin, and you don't need to grease the inside of it either because of the fats in the pastry. So we're going to start by blind baking the pastry first. So you want to kind of like cut out the pastry around this and then push it in and get it nice into these grooves. Then we're going to fill it with some baking beads or lentils or something like that in a bit of grease-proof paper, and we're going to bake that in the oven for about 15 minutes. And whilst that's baking, we can get on with making the filling. So now that they are baked and they are just resting out of the oven and cooling down to set, we're going to prepare the toppings. I'm going to do some really nice, like finely chopped pistachios into kind of like a crumb. We're going to sprinkle them on top. You could just leave it there. You could add something like fruit, like a nice little bit of fresh raspberry would look really nice, or you could add some dried flower petals. Basically, you can get creative with your toppings, but we're going to do ours today with the crushed pistachios and the dried flower petals.
The sweetness that comes through the dates really does have that caramel flavor to it. It's amazing. And then the pistachio is just super creamy. These are so good. These are going to make such a good dessert for date night. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. We hope we have inspired you and you want to go out and show someone how much you love them by cooking this meal plan for them.
Let us know in the comments which one looks like your favorite. I think ours is definitely the main course. It's the one that we've made the most. It's just so delicious. So yeah, let us know in the comments which one you might try making, and we will see you in our next video.
Bye.